Good morning. My name is Dr. Damon Bryant. I am the co-founder of LightPayCoin, and I'm also the CEO of the organization that manages the research, development, and deployment of the infrastructure for LightPayCoin. That company is Exchange. So wait till the slides that we have here, and then we could begin to move forward. Just to tell you a little bit about our team, we are a decentralized team that operates around the world. We have developers in Croatia, Ukraine, South Korea, the Philippines, Japan, and also here in the United States. LightPayCoin, when you think about LightPayCoin, we are a hybrid cryptocurrency that is involved in a wide variety of different processes. For instance, we're looking to replace or we're looking to supplement provide a variety of different options for payments in local governments and businesses. When you begin to think about some aspects related to taxes, paying for local goods and services, and other businesses, it's the case we need to be provided more options. So I'll begin to just talk a little bit about what we're doing in the space, some of the information around our coin economics, our masternodes, and then we'll also talk about the progress that we made in the past 45 days and what we'll begin to do in the next 90 days. So looks like we don't have the presentation up, but I'll move forward anyway. Well, LightPayCoin, once again, we are a hybrid cryptocurrency using proof of stake and masternodes. Using proof of stake and masternodes, we provide a return on a daily basis to our masternode holders. When you look at the coin economics, in building the coin, we wanted to build a coin that was somewhat friendly to investors, a coin that we would like to invest in. So the individual team members, we got together, we were investing in a wide variety of different cryptocurrencies at the time once we conceived the idea, and some were just, as soon as they did an ICO, the coin would flop, and it was the case, we were going from masternode and masternodes, and we developed relationships, I developed relationships with developers all across the world. And it was the point we said, hey, let's develop a coin that we would like to invest in that has a real world utility. Let's quickly move out of the speculation that a lot of these cryptocurrencies and digital assets have at this point. So we developed the team, and then myself, and subsequently was a co-founder, and I represent the Americas. A little bit about my background. I have a PhD in industrial and organizational psychology with a focus in behavioral economics, mathematics, and business. So it's the case, as a little bit about my academic ancestry, my academic grandfather, Dr. John Tukey, was the person who is given credit for developing the coining the term software. He was also given credit for coining the term bit, which is what most of you hear about when you hear the term Bitcoin. So it's my academic grandfather, John Tukey, a PhD in mathematics from Princeton, who actually coined the term bit and the term software. So I only think it's appropriate that that lineage is followed in helping to push the cryptocurrency industry forward. So talking about the dynamics of LightPayCoin. So looking at the coin dynamics, we have 21 million supply, and that's something, a magic number that we wanted to stick to in terms of the maximum supply, so it's perceived as somewhat scarce as well. And looking at, it's a 60-second block time, with 90% of the reward, up to 90% of the reward going to the masternodes. At the same time, looking at some of our statistics, market statistics, at the time of this presentation, at the time of the creating of the slide, that number may not necessarily be correct, but today it's around $7.50 per coin, $7,650 per masternode. And that's, consider this is within a 45-day launch since Genesis. We did not do an ICO because we wanted the growth to be organic. It didn't necessarily want to fight that immediate dump from the individuals in pre-sale and the other investors who got in very early. So in order to fight that, we decided not, or to prevent that from happening, we decided to do a very organic launch. And as a consequence, that reflected in the growth of the coin moving forward. Looking at the masternode statistics, we have a return on investment right now for approximately 26 days. That's we wanted to reward the early investors in the coin and following similar coin dynamics as other next generation cryptocurrencies such as Dash. So that was one of our frameworks, following some of the coin economics with Dash, following some of the maximum supply characteristics of Bitcoin. And LightPayCoin is actually a fork of PivX, which is a fork of Dash, which is a fork of Bitcoin. And all of those collectively solve the major issues around double spend, around fungibility, and speed of transactions. And with this cryptocurrency, similar to PivX and with the Dash, you have the instant send and you have the dark send capabilities. So now you handle the concern about fungibility. So handling the aspects related to fungibility, the double spend, and the speed of transactions, now we're in a position to begin to tackle some real-world use cases. So we'll talk about some of those use cases as we begin to discuss what we've been able to do within the past 45 days since our launch. Since our launch of Genesis Block around 46 days ago, it was a case we already have a mobile application that's available on a mobile wallet that's available in Google Play. We're currently in development also of our iOS mobile wallet as well. We've actually acquired some corporate entities who have already purchased masternodes and are supporting the network themselves. So it's the case that these corporate entities have purchased masternodes, they're operating within their organization as an institutional asset, but they're also being paid for supporting the network. So now we're already getting some institutional or corporate adoption of our tool all within 45 days. Right now, it's around 10%. We have 10% of the masternodes in our network, around 350 so far. But we're looking to get a nice distribution of masternode holders from the retail sector, institutions, and also from local governments. Because one of our main goals is to focus on local governments, the payment of taxes, the payments of other local government services, and businesses as well. So when you begin to look to see where we are in a 45-day period, we're already number 7 on masternodes online in terms of our daily volume, which is around 700,000. We have a market cap of approximately $4.5 million. So we're in a very solid position. We got to a great start. We gotten off to a great start within the past 45 days, but we have a beautiful roadmap and some very key milestones that we'll be able to accomplish within the next 90 days. One of the key aspects when you look at all of cryptocurrencies in terms of the development team, we have a team of PhDs with specialties. My specialty is in mathematics, behavioral economics. We have PhDs in engineering. But at the same time, with our relatively small team, we know that we can't change the world. So that we knew that we need to have partnerships. So we're one of the first cryptocurrencies in the world to have a multi-year partnership with one of the top universities in the United States in computer science, in engineering, in human factors, and in industrial and organizational psychology. So when you begin to think about the partnerships that we have, one of our partners is the University of Central Florida. With UCF, they were founded as an organization with the primary mission of putting a man on the moon. To this day, they produce the largest number of engineers in the aerospace and in the Department of Defense. So we're just leveraging that heavy research and development capabilities that this university provide, and we're also pursuing other universities with that skill, with our heavy R&D capabilities. One thing about UCF, they have the top programming team out of the computer sciences in Americas. So they beat the MITs, they beat the Yales, they beat the Stanford programming teams, and actually was the top in North America and was the top 10 in the world. So we're having that core group of software engineers, hardware engineers, human factors psychologists, and industrial organizational psychologists to help create the next generation of wallets, next generation of point-of-sale devices, and the next generation of contactless ATM machines that you'll be able to use with your mobile phone with near-field communication technologies. So with that UCF relationship that we already have in place, we've already have a master level service agreement. We'll be issuing out task orders on that master level agreement, and we'll be paying the students and faculty to conduct research and development around the user interfaces. And I think one of the goals that I have, if my mother, my 82-year-old mother, is able to receive LightPayCoin and send it back to me within 20 minutes, I think that we've done a service. So it's not only for most of the techies, and a lot of you are very proficient in using technology, but in order for cryptocurrencies in general, and LightPayCoin in particular, to have mass adoption, it must be the case we have to design better user interfaces. We talk about the scalability issues, we talk about fungibility issues. That's solved. It's something with instant transactions that we have now, with masternode support in the network, and instant send and private send, it's now getting into the practical use cases, working with local governments, working with businesses, and pushing it out to the masses. So that's really our core mission, and that's what we're looking to do in issuing out task orders to the university and having them begin to do the research around the user interfaces, because I really see that as one of the most critical parts, not only for the wallets, but also for the point-of-sale devices and also for the ATMs. We're also pursuing, within the 90-day period, listings in more exchanges. So you look at Coin Exchange and Cryptopia, we're putting in applications now to be able to cross those thresholds to provide more liquidity for our investors, and also more price discovery, because it's at the point, I don't think we've reached our potential in terms of where we would like to go, but we have a solid team, we have a solid business plan, solid milestones that are put in place, and a solid organization to help drive LightPayCoin forward. So with the mobile wallet development, with the creation of prototypes for our point-of-sale devices and the ATMs, we're going on road shows. We already have conferences set up with local governments where we will be meeting with mayors and local government officials to tell them about the advantages of using LightPayCoin and having a masternode to be able to support the network that they will be using. And we'd like to establish a beachhead. When you think about a beachhead, it's being able to have one place where you can begin to launch operations and things would spread. So looking all around the world in terms of where cryptocurrencies already used for these services, you begin to think Orlando, Florida, or in the area of Seminole County, which is adjacent to Orlando, is within the Orlando Metroplex. Seminole County is the only county in the United States, if not the world, to allow you to use cryptocurrency to pay taxes. Coincidentally, the University of Central Florida is in that exact same area. So that beachhead we're establishing in the state of Florida will be our foundation. So as we move to different counties throughout the state, begin to talk to the local mayors, the city officials, the tax collectors, and begin to argue that case of the advantages of using cryptocurrency, digital assets within I think we will be able to win out and build a larger head, and now it begins to spread to more and more businesses, and as well to local governments. And we will be conducting studies within the Industrial and Organizational Psychology program to look at the feasibility. What's the return on investment for using a masternode to support the network to take transactions on a point-of-sale device for taxes, or for also purchasing a driver's license or any other government service. And we'll also be doing our return on investment studies as well for the businesses that move into the cohort of organizations that have purchased masternodes. How does that turn out? Looking at aspects related to the volatility, the customer adoption, and refining the user interfaces as that occurs. So at this point, I can open up the floor to anyone who would like to ask questions. I'd like for this to be interactive. Originally had a 30-minute presentation, but time crunches and things of that nature, I'm quite sure you can understand. Sir. He's going to bring you the mic.
Okay. You mentioned about you want to persuade local government or probably federal or state government to use this cryptocurrency you created. What's your strategy? Because I work with the local government a lot. I know they are very slow, they don't want to change. Very difficult to ask them to try new things. What's your strategy?
So definitely, thank you for your question, and I definitely would like to have a conversation with you at the end of this presentation to follow up on that as well. Our general approach here is that because we already have a relationship with a state university in that particular state, in the county adjacent to the university, they're already using the cryptocurrency for the payment of taxes. Once again, if you'd like to look it up, that's Seminole County. They just started this summer for the use of payment of taxes. Our strategy, because we're sharing in the intellectual property with the university and are able to use their brand name and speaking to the local county governments, we have the UCF brand, the University of Central Florida brand, one of the largest universities in the United States, in addition to the state university, who would be receiving revenues off of the patent and the intellectual property. Moreover, it's the case that we already have counties that have already said, get the point-of-sale terminals built, we'll begin to do the pilots. And when we introduce the pilots and we give them the technical reports on the return on investments for the period of time that they use the pilots, then they will be able to see the value of using the digital cryptocurrency. So that's our general approach, using the brand name of universities known in different aspects of the different parts of the United States, and then subsequently the world. We will continue. We're in conversations now with another university that's prepared to come on board, use their top research professors and their students, and in that region, you begin to build a relationship at the local level. Once students begin to talk about it, parents begin to talk about it, and they say, hey, we're involved in LightPayCoin. I have downloaded the wallet. Everyone who's participating on the project will be given some of the cryptocurrency just to learn how it functions. As in the UCF relationship, it's the case, it will be integrated in the courses required for graduation. So now you're seeing the engineers, you're seeing computer scientists, you're seeing human factor psychologists who design interfaces, actually collaborating with each other, and then it's spreading organically. But definitely having a brand in the local area that can be leveraged to help convince some of the local officials in government to use it. That's our general approach. Does that make sense, sir? Any other questions?
Yeah, so I'm interested with, when you compare, all the cryptos, really all of them are faster than ACH or credit cards, right? So I'm wondering why would governments specifically choose to use you guys as opposed to something like Bitcoin, where they can right away have their, get rid of any risk, like they can go with a BitPay and have an ACH the next day in their account just like they can with a different payment method.
Sure. When you talk about that, and the organization that helps lead the development of Bitcoin, that's definitely fair, but we want to provide options. So it's not the case just to have one player or just two players in town. There should be multiple options. Because we're the only cryptocurrency now that has a multi-year relationship with the university in building out point-of-sale terms, the next generation. Because a lot of user interfaces right now for your mobile wallets, they're not great user interfaces. Let's just admit it. That's what Andreas Antonopoulos say. The issue is not scaling. The issue is user interfaces. And that's what we're looking to do. We're building relationships with exchanges and other countries. For instance, within the next week, there's going to be a launch of an exchange in Nigeria called Your Exchange, YOUREX.io. With that exchange, you'll be able to purchase LPC. At the same time, it's at the local level, beginning to build that groundswell for mass adoption. But then at the same time, we want to be able to provide options. At this point, is BitPay used within government services within Nigeria? We'd like to beat them there. We'd like to be able to compete. Not necessarily, they're the great granddaddy. So we give all due respect for them being able to solve the double spend problem, because that was very hard. But then the instant send transactions, the private send transactions, those are some of the things that we want to be able to solve. If it's the case that you see the transaction on, say, the Bitcoin's blockchain of someone paying their taxes, you see, okay, how much Bitcoin do they have? You just follow the Explorer, and you can determine that. We want to be able to provide some level of anonymity, so I think that's an area where we do distinguish ourselves from Bitcoin at this point, be able to provide those options of privacy, instant send, but at the same time not being able to have your transactions on the blockchain so someone looks and explores and see how much money you actually have. So I think that's the advantage that we have at this point. Any other questions? I think he's going to pass the mic. Sure.
As an investor, how can one go about acquiring your coin? Like, is
Sure.
it listed in any exchanges? And then also, is there any like a discount from or a minimum, buying amount where one would get a discount on it or anything like that?
So at this point, we're giving some discounts for our institutional investors who are making long-term commitments. The exchanges where you can purchase LPC at this point are Escodex, CryptoBridge, which we do about 100 BTC in volume per day. Also, as well, Stock Exchange and South Exchange. But in the next 90 days, we'll also be we're applying for Cryptopia to get that listing, which will be one of the largest exchanges that we will be on at that point. And looking for a lot of, once again, liquidity and price discovery as well. But as I mentioned earlier, we do provide some of the discounts to our corporate entities that are looking for multiple investments, and they've made some commitment in terms of what they will buy in terms of master nodes each month. Perhaps looking at it in a dollar cost average month over time, so it's the point where they be able to receive some reasonable investment. Because obviously the price is going to go down and go up as we go through that price discovery process, and the volatility over time as it will go down, then we will begin to decrease that from the institutional investors that we have now. But we've entered into some relationships, but that's negotiated depending on some of the aspects related to the market. So I'll feel free to have a discussion with you once this is done. Any other questions? I want to make sure I'm on time and I'm able to handle the question, but sure. Go ahead, sir.
Hey, I'm a computer scientist. I live in Seminole County. I have 2 sons who graduated from UCF. Why UCF? There's no crypto competency there.
Sure. University of Central Florida, first and foremost, I'm a graduate of the University of Central Florida. My colleagues, other PhDs on the team, so Dr. Larry Day is a graduate of the University of Central Florida, looking at the Human Factors Program and very heavy research and development in the aerospace and defense industry. That's some very rigorous research when you look at the Institutes for Simulation and Training. These UCF, once again, designed interfaces for spacecraft and pilots. So understanding aspects around user interfaces, it was important for us to find people who were experts experts within this space. For instance, one of the professors who has initially made a commitment to work with us, it's the case she designed the user interfaces for the banks and the ATM machines. So if you'd like, I could forward you the abstracts of the works that she's done. And once again, an expert in the field who's bringing her expertise in training students who will help to drive this industry forward. Because I do think it's important to having a very solid research and development capabilities with individuals who have that expertise in user interfaces, not necessarily in blockchain. It's the case that can be easily acquired with a lot of invited speakers, and with individuals like myself and other developers across the nation, across the country within LightPayCoin and the world who have expertise, inviting them in for seminars and talks. So, and with the multi-year relationship, we'll be able to move that forward. But definitely, thank you for your question. It's a valid concern. Any other questions? Thank you for your time.